We have an awesome show for you guys today.
The greatest eventer of all time.
Good news for the sport.
Welcome to the John and Rick Show, brought to you by Horse Trailer Pros. We've got a really fun show today with the legendary Joanie Morris. She has filled all kinds of roles, but before we get into that, let's take a break, check in with Horse Trailer Pros, and we'll be right back.
Want to advertise on the John and Rick Show? Contact John at 352-875-8622
Or call Rick at 850-879-2649.
For a horse owner on the road, your trailer is essential. No one enjoys being stuck on the road. At Horse Trailer Pros, we repair, renovate, and maintain all makes and models of horse trailers. We work directly with your insurance company or manufacturer for warranty repairs and insurance claims. Our state-of-the-art facility provides quick turnaround and friendly customer service. Considering a living quarter conversion? We do those too. Find comfort on the road with Horse Trailer Pros. Call or text 352-804-2131. HorseTrailerPros.com.
Does your horse struggle with stress, tight muscles, or fatigue? NupaFeed USA delivers advanced supplements trusted by riders nationwide. Our magnesium supplement with unique MAH helps reduce anxiety and support muscle relaxation. And for lasting stamina, our L-carnitine builds energy and strength without making horses fizzy. Easy to feed, proven to perform. Support your horse's health and performance today with NupaFeed.
Welcome to the John and Rick Show, brought to you by Horse Trailer Pros. John, this is season 7, episode 3. We have a great guest. We've had a great week. How are you doing? Surviving the cold.
It's warming up, thank goodness. But the super exciting thing, Rick, is we have exciting news for everybody here. We have a great new segment sponsor, an advertiser on the podcast in NupaFeed. We are so excited to have them. NupaFeed, as you guys know, is a product that's been just a staple in so many competition barns. It helps your horses relax and focus. And Rick, you probably know even more about the deal, but we're just, honestly, we're really excited to have NupaFeed here as a part of the John and Rick Show.
Yeah, NupaFeed USA is distributed by Scott Adcock out of Sarasota. We all know that magnesium is allowed, FDI legal, and it's a great daily supplement, and also comes in a paste. NupaFeed USA has a bunch of other products as well. So welcome aboard, and thanks for being a segment sponsor. It's great.
Yeah, and it's tried and true, right? It's a product everybody knows. It's safe. It's easy to use.
We panic without it. And actually, on NupaFeed, Scott got a hold of me a couple of years ago and said, I'm interested in what Equibrew does, because I have about 20% of our horses that don't react to the NupaFeed magnesium. And he said, I'm interested in what the gut live probiotic might do.
Right.
So it's interesting. We've combined our resources together, and we do notice that those horses that are on Equibrew receive a better dosing of the magnesium from the NupaFeed USA. So it's a cool combination, and we like talking about it a lot.
Well, complementary products then. So we gave NupaFeed segment 1 because we're thrilled to have them. We wanted to make the big announcement, a big deal about it. So welcome. And Rick, we just got done with the Ocala horse trials, and I do want to give a shout out to the whole team there. They did such a good job with the footing. The footing here in Florida anyway has been very hard. We've had no rain. I've been watering my place like crazy, but that's just a little sort of schooling facility to do what those guys did at the Florida Horse Park. Excuse me, at the Florida Horse Park. They had it aerated, they had it watered, and not like just ran the aerator and hope for the best, but like aerated everything numerous times leading into the event. And they have those K lines. They put in a big new well. I thought the footing was amazing.
Yeah, I agree with you, John. I think we have found ourselves, the almanac was wrong. It was right about being super cold here, but it was wrong about being super wet. And we are in drought in this area. And I think it's really hats off to Florida Horse Park and to Jay and everybody down there that's working, Emily, to making sure the footing is fantastic, watered, aerated. I think that's comes down to your selection of where you're going to go, especially in a drought situation to run your upper level horses. So, Ocala is the place to go right now. And I hope that all the other people in Florida kind of follow suit and realize that you got to look at the conditions and understand the footing needs to be taken care of at all times.
Yeah, absolutely. It is the number one most important thing, quite honestly, that I look for when I enter an event is what is the ground going to be like. We've also got other competitions coming up. I know my next big outing is going to be up in Georgia at Chattahoochee Hills. You guys, where do you go next?
We're keeping it in Florida. So we do rocking horse next week with the young horses, but then we take the bigger guys to I think we run Ocala in March, and then we go down to Terra Nova, and then Terra Nova we go to up to Kentucky and then to Tryon. But we can't forget the $10,000 invitational on February 18th for Chris Barnard. A great event coming up, 4-star test with a 1.25 jump off or jump horse. And that is February 18th at the Horse Park.
Yeah, that's going to be a ton of fun. Unfortunately, I won't be there. I'm going to be over looking for horses in Europe, but I will be there in spirit. And the John and Rick Show is sponsoring that competition, correct? We got a little sponsorship.
We absolutely are. We supported Chris and his efforts to support us, the eventers, and we are a sponsor as well as Equibrew and I believe NupaFeed. So nice. We got a trifecta going on here. And that's really great. And also, John, we had Lucinda Green here at your farm, which you, by the way, as your wife would tell you, she compliments on you work your bum off all the time at that farm. But I tell you what you got done for Lucinda was nothing short of miraculous. So thank you very much.
Well, it was fun. I was so mad at myself though. I moved all the jumps. And then she set up that course and I forgot to move jump 1.
Sometimes you're just going to miss out on something.
Oh, I couldn't believe it.
Well, the funny thing, we always learn a lot from Lucinda, and I think this is like her fifth year here. And it was great having her. It was so cold. I told you in person that we pulled our snow clothes out. We usually pull them out for Park City or, Breckenridge. But we were dressed like that at the Hollings farm, and it felt like we're going to go skiing.
Yeah, I mean, we had our water jumps were frozen a couple times, like just a day or two before that clinic. I was a little concerned as to how we were going to make this all work, but it worked out, and that was a lot of fun. So I love when she comes over. It was great. If anybody ever gets the chance to, honestly, even go back and listen to some of our shows, and this isn't a plug just for the podcast, but go back and listen. Like last year, we had her and William Fox Pitt on the podcast, and they were amazing. Well, anytime you can go back and listen to anything she has to say, and if you ever get the chance to ride with her, you really should.
You should. And she actually put together a master class that's going out right now, and it's putting together some really top-notch riders on a master class. You should go to her academy, Lucinda Academy, and find the links and watch that. They're really informational. But it was great having her again, and she went on safari with us on the 40 acres. We had a great time, and it's just I can't wait to see her again in Kentucky.
Yeah, me too. So then the last little thing I wanted to get to here in the NupaFeed segment was, we have to do that too. But before we get to the winner of last week's competition, the last thing I wanted to talk about was the FEI symposium.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so you can actually go on the FEI website. I believe it's fei.org, but don't quote me on that. If you just Google FEI, it'll be there.
You're right. It's .org.
And they have basically a recap of the meeting and all the details and information and charts and graphs and everything. And the big thing to take away is that what we're doing is definitely improving safety and helping with safety in the sport. The numbers are improving every year, basically, just on a very good linear line. Like I say that, but thing is that nothing is linear, but it is steadily improving over time, which is exciting, and becoming a safer, better, neater, cooler sport, accessible to all. And one thing that I thought was pretty neat, which we can get into a little bit more after we give our award winner from the last competition or the last show away, is they did this cool thing with AI where they have a guy come on, and I'm going to call him Larry. And Larry comes on and he gives you a rundown of all of the FEI rule changes for eventing. So he runs through anything that is important to us and in the sport of eventing. I'm sure they do it for jumping and dressage and all of the other FEI disciplines. But we're going to, in a minute, we're going to play that for you guys so you can listen to it. But before we do that, let's get to I
Love My Horse.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, I was
$25 gift certificate, the contest we do. So what do you got?
So the question was, who was Stuart Bunting's top horse basically when he was competing? And the answer was Plantagenet. I think that's how you think I'm saying it, right? And so we went through before the show, Rick and I, and we pulled all the names together, and then we randomly selected our winner, and it is Marcia Cooper. So Marcia,
congratulations, Marcia Cooper, Dana Cook's mother, I do believe.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yep.
And I have her contacts because she does a lot of fundraising for the Canadian team. So that's great. Congratulations. I'm holding up the card that you won.
There we go. So all you got to do is contact us, Marcia, and we will get it to you or Dana or however you want us to get it. So congratulations. And there is another contest at the end of this show. You guys listen to the very end and you can have another chance to win an I Love My Horse $25 gift card. So make sure you hang out and listen to all. I mean, Joanie's going to be awesome. I can promise you guys that. She's such a wealth of knowledge. She's done everything in this sport, from grooming to competing herself to running a 5-star competition. You name it, she's done it. She's run high performance for the USCF. She's amazing.
Oh, by the way, real quick, USCF, a shout out to them. They've been doing a great job. Passports, change of ownerships. I can't tell you the team there, how good they are, because they make it simple and easy. The other thing is there's a new thing on your dashboard, which I found very helpful. When you're always doubting yourself if you're qualified for a 4 long or a 4 short or a 2, they have a system now that you go in and you pull up your horse and you click on it and you put the level, and it'll tell you if you're qualified or not.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So check that out.
It takes out the guessing.
I usually just say, Jen, am I qualified? And she says, I don't know. Go figure it out. And then eventually she gets back to me and gives me the answer that I need.
But now she has a button she can push.
Perfect. Okay. Let's check out what Larry has to say. We're going to just click that on the podcast. If you miss it, you can come back here and listen to it again, or you can go to the FEI website and they've got it there. I do know that. So let's check that out. Again, big thanks, Nupa Feed. We're so excited to have you guys on board. Everybody go get your Nupa Feed and let's go check out the FEI, and then we'll be back with Joanie.
And just by the way, it's Nupa Feed USA, and it's nupafeedusa.com.
Got it. All right, you guys got that. nupafeedusa.com.
Welcome to the FEI Eventing Rule Changes video explainer for 2026. Over the next few minutes, we'll walk you through the key changes that have been approved at the FEI General Assembly in Hong Kong and will come into effect on the 1st of January 2026, following a year of full rules revision for the discipline of eventing. The main goal behind these changes is clarity, to make sure that all stakeholders, the FEI, officials, and the public share a common understanding of how the eventing rules are worded and interpreted. The areas of revision include championships and games, officials, the eventing sanction system, and scoring. And now let's get started. The first section we will look at addresses changes regarding championships and games. To bridge the gap between young rider CCI 3-star long and senior CCI 4-star long championships, the FEI board has approved the introduction of the U25 Eventing World Championship. This new championship will be held annually at CCI 4-star short level for athletes aged 16 to 25. The FEI Eventing Committee also clarified that athletes competing in the U25 Championship may also participate in the Senior Championships within the same year. Regarding minimum eligibility requirements, we also have a modification. Previously, horses that had obtained minimum eligibility requirements at World Championships, Olympic Games, or CCI 5-star long competitions could not be entered in CCI 1-star intro or CCI 2-star short or long competitions during the same or following year. However, to support the development of less experienced athletes and provide valuable learning opportunities, allowing experienced horses to serve as schoolmasters, the restriction under Article 504.2.1 has been removed. Our second set of changes concerns officials. To align with the disciplines of dressage and jumping, per diems for eventing officials are now mandatory and have been increased from €100 to €120. Previously, Article 513.4 did not allow Level 3 judges to serve as ground jury presidents at CCI 4-star short or long competitions if a Level 4 judge was also part of the ground jury. This restriction limited opportunities for Level 3 judges to be assessed as ground jury presidents to transfer up. The rule has now been amended to remove this requirement and make the most of any opportunity for a Level 3 judge to be mentored by an experienced judge while officiating as president. The rules on rotation were often interpreted differently, leading to confusion and additional costs for smaller organising committees. The definition of 2 consecutive years at the same venue has now been clarified as follows. 2 consecutive years at the same venue are defined as 2 events organised in the same place, in the same week of the year, plus or minus 10 days, regardless of the level of competition. Additionally, for eventing technical delegates, the maximum officiating limit of 5 long-format competitions per year has been clarified to exclude pony competitions. Officiating at multiple long formats within the same event will only count as 1. Let's now have a look at sanctions. Previously, eventing sanctions were found in Articles 525 to 527 in a way that was not ideal to understand their underlying structure. Therefore, these articles have been rewritten to allow for a more practical reading of the sanctions. Additionally, we have created a new Annex I that presents all eventing sanctions in one single table, which offers an easy overview and comparison. There are other modifications to sanctions, which include the blood rule in Article 525.4 is now aligned with jumping. The rule regulating the use of aids is now clarified in Articles 525.2 and 526.1.3. And finally, in Articles 525.2 and 526.1.3, the use of the whip has been split by sanction type, eventing recorded warning versus yellow warning card, depending on the seriousness of the offence. And our last set of changes concerns scoring. Let's start with dressage tests, where previously only flying changes could be reviewed at 4-star championships and 5-star level events in cases of a 3-point or greater variation between judges. Now, halts, reinbacks, and walk pirouettes have been added to the review list, as described in Article 544.1.2. In the cross-country test, we reduced the penalty for missing a flag from 15 to 9 points. It was agreed that the penalty should be lower than the one for activating a frangible device, 11 points, but higher than the one for knocking down 2 fences during the jumping test, 8 points. And that's already it for our eventing rule changes video explainer 2026. We hope you found this video helpful in understanding the main changes being implemented. We now invite you to explore all of the changes made to FEI eventing rules, as well as the FEI general regulations and the FEI veterinary regulations, which can easily be accessed in just one click on inside.fei.org or through the links provided in the video descriptor. Should you have any questions or need further assistance, feel free to reach out to us at eventing@fei.org. Thank you for your passion and dedication to the sport, and we wish you a wonderful eventing year in 2026, featuring the Eventing World Championship in Aachen, Germany, and the new U25 Eventing World Championship in Mill Street, Ireland.
Does your horse struggle with stress, tight muscles, or fatigue? NupaFeed USA delivers advanced supplements trusted by riders nationwide. Our magnesium supplement with unique MAH helps reduce anxiety and support muscle relaxation. And for lasting stamina, our L-carnitine builds energy and strength without making horses fizzy. Easy to feed, proven to perform. Support your horse's health and performance today with NupaFeed.
I just got back from Magnolia Sands schooling the horses cross country. It is such a useful place to go. If you are here for the winter season and you want to go cross country schooling, Magnolia Sands needs to be on your list. It is awesome, great jumps. You do have to make reservations, so you're going to text 615-414-0781 or send them an email at magnoliasandsfarm@gmail.com. You're going to have a great time.
EquiBrew, now available in the USA. It's a live probiotic that you feed daily to your horses. The live microbes go into your horse's gut and cleans up the gut wall, creating a healthy gut system.
EquiBrew is an essential part of my feeding program. My horses love to eat it, and it does a really good job of promoting gut health and also good behavior and great performances.
It's something I recommend for all of your horses, no matter what they do in their careers.
It's so affordable, I can use it on all of my horses in the barn, not just my top horses.
Order EquiBrew today by going to brickfieldnutrition.com or calling 850-879-2649.
Grant Showalter has over 15 years of equine bodywork and saddle fitting experience. His technique allows him to identify and alleviate tightness in muscles. He uses trigger point massage to release points of restriction. Grant has over a decade of experience fitting and adjusting a wide variety of saddles. His expertise in equine physiology, coupled with a thorough understanding of the importance of a properly fitted saddle, allows him to quickly identify and correct any balance issues. Grant can also adjust your saddle on site. Grant works on all of my competition horses, and I have noticed a significant improvement in their performance at competitions and their overall way of going. Grant's based in Ocala, Florida year-round, but regularly travels to the surrounding areas. For more information or to schedule an appointment, call 484-639-4454.
Welcome back to the John and Rick Show, brought to you by Horse Trailer Pros. We are now joined by the legendary Joanie Morris. She has worn virtually every hat in equestrian sport, and we are going to talk about all of those. We are here, Joanie, in our EquiBrew segment. EquiBrew is an awesome live probiotic. Rick is actually a big part of it and brings it in for all of us, which we appreciate. And you can get it by going to brickfieldnutrition.com. It is also on Shopify, I believe, Rick. And what else?
Yeah, that will take you to Shopify.
Okay, perfect. So that's where you go get it. So, Joanie, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
I've wanted to have you on for a while. We have wanted to have you on for a while, so we appreciate you making the time.
No problem. Happy to be here.
And now, before we get into the equine stuff and the horse side of this, we do have to talk about, you just had a pretty traumatic evening, and I can understand because I am a huge football fan as well and a Packer fan, as everybody knows. Joanie, you're a New England Patriots fan, and it was not a good showing by Drake May and company.
It was not. I still love Drake May. I think they've got a big future ahead of them. I think that maybe it was a bridge too far last night. I did not learn my lesson when I had to wear a piece of cheese on my head for a sweaty Ocala International 3-day event a few years ago.
That was epic.
And I made a bet with Jonathan Elliott, our dear friend, who's a diehard Seahawks fan, that whoever's team won the game would get to pick an outfit at a high-profile event for the other person to wear. So I look for me in some sort of Seahawk green at an event near you.
Do you know what event this is going to be? So he could choose.
Yeah, I think it's going to be at Kentucky.
Oh my God. And is it like a day or the whole time?
No, it's a day.
And so he's just going to outfit you. You know, he has so much stuff.
I know. And I had a really, really, really nice 100% polyester blazer, like with the Patriots logo all over it, picked out for him that he was going to look so good in. And I probably got a little bit out over my skis on that one. And yeah, wish me luck.
That's awesome.
If
Okay, well, anyway.
if I'm out with COVID the week of Kentucky, you'll know why.
Okay, that's good to know.
Tested positive.
So you have just taken on a new position at the Aiken Horse Park, and that's pretty exciting. So what are you doing now?
So I got hired as the chief operating officer. So the Aiken Horse Park is obviously in Aiken, South Carolina, also known as Bruce's Field, and it's a multi-discipline horse park inside what was the old race course, right in the historic district in town. So it's, for those that haven't been, it's very, very unique. And yeah, so I'm, being the COO, been here for a month, so I'm still learning the ropes, but overseeing day-to-day operations, working closely with Tara Boswick, the CEO, and we have a small team here. We've had some really tough weather this winter, like everybody has, frozen rings and that kind of stuff. But we have a dressage show this coming weekend, and then we get right into obviously what eventers think of when they think of the Aiken Horse Park is the Grand Prix event and the showcase. So that's pretty awesome because that's at the end of February, and we have looks to be a pretty strong group of horses, and the excitement is building. We just actually returned our title sponsor, came back, Liftmaster. So came back for they were here for 3 years, and then they took a couple of years off, and now they're back for 3 more years. So we're really excited about that. So we have to have $100,000 in prize money and have a great competition and a really fun party in the middle of Aiken. So put it on your calendar. Holly, I'm going to get you here one day.
I know. I need to get up there. I actually was thinking of it when I invited you here because every year I'm like, I'm going to do it. And then I'm like, it doesn't quite work. So, right. But I need to come up. Tell us a little bit about Liftmaster. What are they? Is that the garage door company?
So that's what everyone thinks of. But actually now, like if you think about it, every time you drive through someone's gates onto their farm, the majority of them are Liftmaster. So it actually really makes a ton of sense. I mean, it's shocking once you start looking for it, how many places you see it and realize it. So they do all kinds of that kind of thing. I was in Wellington for some meetings last week, and I went to a couple farms, all those the Gates farms here in Aiken. So those are really the two things that in our world they would be known most for. And they like the sport. There's history with the Duchessois family in that company as well, and Bruce Duchessois, the namesake of Bruce's Field, who bought the piece of property and established the foundation before he passed away. And this has all been sort of set up, managed, and is operated in his legacy and in his vision. So it's a pretty unique place. It's different than a lot of other horse parks. Like it doesn't get used every single week of the year. There's a foundation behind it that's got a huge charitable arm. And it's a real, we want it to be a center of the community, both equine and others. I mean, we have people that come on the cross country day of the showcase that they don't go to another horse event all year. Maybe they go to the steeplechase, but they come out for that, and it's pretty special. And Bruce, for those that don't know who Bruce was he was a hunter rider himself, but he owned horses for Philip Dutton, and that's how I met him when I was grooming for Philip. He had just sort of gotten himself involved in owning an event horse or two. And he treated the grooms and looked after the grooms with the same respect and the same way that he would treat, any person he would meet. And we became fast friends from the beginning, and I've gotten to know a lot of people and had a lot of opportunities through knowing him. So it feels really nice and comfortable to be now part of this team here, and an honor, to quite frankly, because it's a big legacy that we're maintaining here. And it's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Yeah, that is awesome. Very cool. Rick, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, everybody, like you said, Joanie, knows Bruce's Field, at least the eventers, for that once a year big event that's going to go on. And I know you just mentioned that was coming up soon, correct?
Soon is the 27th and 28th of February.
So who is the designer this year? Is it?
So it's been Mark Phillips since the inception. Mark's really had sort of a lock on this showcase arena eventing design, and he has been hugely instrumental in developing the showcase. here, and all the majority of the jumps are all like buildings or features from around Aiken. So we have like the Aiken train station, we have the Wilcox Hotel, we have the post office, which is a really iconic building. So, and a court tennis, which is a very Aiken sport. Like we have a tennis net. So all these different things. So it's a real showcase. I mean, it showcases the town. It also showcases the horses and riders. But this year, Jay Hambly's come on as a designer. Yes, so Jay's from Canada. He's, I feel like he's one of our, in this continent, one of our up and coming, really, going to be a really important designer. He's been an assistant at Kentucky. He does a bunch of, he works at Bromont. He works at Rebecca Farm. He works at a lot of big events. He helps us. He does the Virginia Horse Trials. Oh God, the Virginia Horse Center eventing. But when we started to talk about this idea of sort of, succession planning, and Mark, has sort of done this wholly and solely on his own. He did Wellington, he does Devon, he does the Royal. I first asked Jay to just come to the event and see it and see if it would be something he'd want to be involved in, because some people, it's very unique, and you, until you're here, I mean, it's hard to sort of imagine, right? And then so he came the first year just to see, and he said, yes, I'd be really interested. So he was the assistant for Mark last year. And then this year he's coming, he's the designer and Mark is the course advisor. So I wanted, to make that transition as smooth as possible, but also wanted to make sure that Jay understood, what he was getting into, because it should be hard to win. It's a lot of money, but also we want everyone to be able to jump around, because, we want it to be a great experience for the horses, but we have a big crowd here that wants to see people go around, and we have one horse on course at a time. And so they get to see every horse jump every jump. But if we have an unjumpable combination at the fifth jump that takes out a third of the field, that makes for long periods of time between horses, and not a great, and we want to have everyone to walk away, whether it's a horse or rider or spectator, whoever, being like, might not have been a perfect day, but my horse learned something out of that. I'm better for having come and done that, and I want to do it again next year. And same for the spectators. We want them to just be desperate to come back. And that's the response we feel like we have. So, that's in the back of our mind all the time while planning this, that even if you don't bring a horse that can win it this year, that they get a good experience and they want to come back the next year, better, sort of with more experience and a better shot at it. We like this year we're paying prize money down to 15th. So if you come in the top 15, like, you at least get your entry paid, which I know is at some point feels like the smallest expense that you spend getting a horse ready for a major event. But we appreciate that the riders, have a lot of choices, and we want this to be, and we really value their participation. And we ask a lot of them here, as far as the charities are concerned, because we have a team component, and everyone that's on a team represents a charity, and the charities get some money, and we have team prize money, and we have utilize them for sponsor commitments for the events and that kind of thing. So we just want to make sure that everyone's really valued and welcome here, and feels like they have, a good experience, even if it's not their day to win the event. Because it obviously, if you look at the horses that have won it, it's, some of the top 5-star horses, that we've had in this generation in the country. So it's cool. Everyone should come. It's a great time.
You sold it to me.
Yeah. As we roll through that, so let's talk. We got Jay Hambly for the cross country. Who are you doing the show jump design?
So Michelle Valancourt does the so we have Canadian invasion apparently happening here. Tell Jen.
We'll find out when you do the judging list.
No, but Michelle's local to Aiken. He's obviously a very, very decorated designer, both in the FEI show jumping world, and also, an Olympian in his own right. But he's done, he's starting to dip his toe into more eventing. So one of the unique things we have here at Bruce's Field is every Tuesday throughout the winter, we have, now it's 2 jumper rings, a hunter ring, and a dressage ring, it's schooling. You sign up for a schooling slot. You can jump around. But what's unique about it is Michelle does the courses. So they're proper competition courses, and it's proper competition jumps. It's on the really good footing. It's run like a show, it has that feel, but there's, it's, if you mess up a line, you can go back in and do a line again. If you want to add another round, you can. It's laid back, but we feel like we do everything we can to replicate a show at a show facility, but it's, you pay per round, and it's casual, and you can, come in your winter clothes if you need to, and same with the dressage ring, and same with the hunter ring. So if we try and lend that level of experience in like a in a really good environment at all, like from starter to advanced. But Michel does all the jumper courses here throughout the winter. So he sort of builds them up over the winter. So they start off, everyone's just trying to get out and get around the ring and not fall off with the flags and everything, and the banners and everything else that's in the ring. And then build it up by the end. Because obviously, some of these horses are going on to do, to do big stuff or go to big venues. But he also watches event horses jump, hundreds of rounds, thousands of rounds by the time the winter's over. And so he's got a really good, even though his background is pure show jumping, he's got a really good sense for event horses and how they respond to different elements of course building. So it's pretty cool. And, like I said, he lives in Aiken. His wife is a realtor here, and her sister is Tara. So Michelle and Deirdre Valancourt, and then Tara Boswick is the CEO of the horse park, who's Deirdre's sister. So it's, Aiken's got that sort of family feel about it too. And everyone's like, there's a lot of people really invested and tied to this place for a lot of different reasons. And yeah, so it's a pretty cool part of it too. And I always say to them, like, Michelle, make it hard to jump a clear round, but don't take them out. Don't make it too hard, because we want them to all want to go cross country. So it's that balance, right? Yep. But it's so far he gets it pretty right. So it's an exciting evening of show jumping, and I think we fill up the VIP tent, and it feels like you're at a a major event with that kind of atmosphere, which you don't get to practice in a lot of the time. So we appreciate that we're able to provide that here.
Well, at least you don't have to wear that outfit at that event.
Oh God, don't even say that.
That's a good idea.
No, you were not part of negotiating the deal.
I kind of feel like maybe I could be.
Nope. That's not
what was I going
does Rick was mentioning the judges.
Yeah.
Christian Steiner is coming from Austria. And then Sarah Miller Leary is judging from the US. So we always try and bring someone over and then have an American judge as well.
That's awesome.
And great Tim Murray's the TD. So we have a great group of people. Yeah.
Gotta love Tim.
Yeah.
So my question, I knew what I was going to ask. I had one that was spot on. Historically, there's always a guest rider. Is that still something that happens? Do you have a guest rider this year? Are you bringing somebody over, or you've stopped?
Well, no, we thought we did. And then, as calendars and schedules get rolling, it becomes more and more difficult. So we don't have someone coming over specifically, but Sophia Hill, so those thoroughbred fans from the 5-star at Maryland, she brought her horse over from Australia to compete at the 5-star, and she's left it over with Monica Spencer, and he's a little rocket named Humble Glory. And so she just emailed me over the weekend and said she was going to enter. So I consider that to be someone that most people wouldn't have seen over here, which is part of the draw, right? So we're pretty excited about that she's choosing to come. And we've got some people coming that maybe have only been once or haven't been before. So like Maya Clarkson, she's just won, obviously, Big Wilton Fair Grant. She's an up-and-coming, younger rider. And who else did I just see entered? Oh, Lauren Nicholson's coming. I think she maybe came the first year, but she hasn't been in a long time. So it's just good to have, some, and then we have, the same sort of old guard that comes all the time and, has sort of figured it out. So it's good to have a mixture though. Tammy's coming back, Boyd's coming back. So, we've got a bunch of people that have won it before, a couple of people that have won it before. So yeah, I'm excited. I think it's going to be it's a really sort of mixture of a field between really experienced horses and then some ones that are, wanting to come and get the experience. Like someone said to me the other day, which I thought was interesting, because of the way that the cross country is here and how many people we get, 6,000 people on Saturday, and it's only a 4.5-minute course. So there's not so the ropes are packed pretty much for the entire course, except maybe for the start box of the first jump. It feels like an intense European event on the cross country. We lost Rick.
He'll be back.
Okay. Even the 5-stars here, right? Because the courses are so long, there's places where there's no people. And you go to an Aachen or a Buccolo where, at Buccolo, there's people everywhere and it's so intense on the cross country. And someone's like that. The showcase is the only place that provides that for us, where you can't see around the corner because there's 10 people standing there. And that's totally different than when you walk it. And I thought that was interesting. And that's part of what we have it for, right? Is we want people to be able to practice under pressure and for those major championships and games and major events in sort of an unusual scenario. And a lot of those European events are unusual. They're not just going and jumping around a regular 4 short or 4 long in this country. Just our venues are a little bit different than that. So, and I talked to Leslie, we picked, like, we talked about the dressage test, we want it to work for I mean, with my old hat on, like, as far as making it work for the teams and the horses and riders, like that's priority, right? I mean, if it doesn't make sense for you guys, it doesn't make sense for us to do it. So we keep that in mind with all the choices that we make for sure.
Yeah, I like that. And you're absolutely right. Like the event that I've gone to in Europe that always sort of epitomizes that is Buccolo, right? Like you go there, it's no offense to Buccolo, it's not really much of a cross country course. The land is flat and relatively unexciting, but they have all these people in and they make a world class competition out of it because they can create so much atmosphere. And it's why it's one of my favorite events to go to produce horses, because it creates that atmosphere that you suddenly can spring on them in this country at the 5-star level for the first time. And that's difficult. So I think it's great that you do that. And to your earlier point, I do need to get my horses up there to experience that because it's going to matter to them soon.
I'll take your entry. You can still send it in.
Oh, let me think.
Well, and I think too, it's, when you think of an event like Buccolo, right? I mean, it's sort of like a unofficial, like, young horse 4-star championship, right? Like it's a testing ground for those horses. And I feel like, and we don't sort of have that so much in this country. To your point, you could get to the 5-star and some of them are like eyes wide open. And I'll use Alex Conrad as an example, right? I mean, I think having the 4 short at Kentucky does help that now, but like he brought his thoroughbred horse here and last year, and, and it'd never been an environment like this. And he said, to paraphrase, like, I'm so glad I did that because I got to Kentucky and he was okay. Like he was like, okay, there's a lot of people here. There's a lot going on, kind of overstimulated, but it's not the first time I've experienced this. And so I do think that we can really offer that. And it's important. And I think, look, the more places we can have eventing, right? I mean, we can have a big philosophical conversation about the Olympics and what the future of eventing is, but they can do dressage and show jumping in front of the Eiffel Tower, right? That's incredible. I mean, we got, Versailles offered eventing, something that we don't get in a lot of environments. LA, there's obviously been a lot of conversation about that. This is a version of eventing. It's not traditional eventing. It's not 5-star. But it does offer an opportunity to bring eventing to a place and to people that are not going to see it otherwise. And maybe they will then go look for it otherwise, having experienced it here. But look, it's 2 days. It's not even, it's a day and a half, right? It's easy to get in and out. One horse is on course at a time. It's really easy to follow along what's going on. You don't miss anything. So it does actually, like, I always equate, like when I went to the Olympics in 2016, we went to rugby sevens. It was the first year they'd done it. That's not like the traditional rugby that people, the diehard rugby fans with the All Blacks and all that. But it's the only way to get rugby, on that stage in the Olympic Games. And from a spectator standpoint, it was awesome. Like we had such a great
Sevens
time.
Are fun.
Yeah, we watched so many games and it was just like, and I did, and I walked away thinking, oh, that was pretty cool. Like, and now I sort of pay attention to rugby in the back of my mind, right? Because I was able to do that. So I just think the more we can expose people to eventing in a format that, it's dressage and show jumping, and then the next day it's cross country. So but it is very much a showcase, I think is important because it gives us more opportunity to bring eventing to more places to then grow the sport in a traditional sense as well. Like, I think the things work hand in hand. Like, I don't think that it's this or that. I think it's both. And I think that they both, from a competitive standpoint, good horses have come out of this event and have really moved up as a result of doing it. And it's brought people to the sport that wouldn't come otherwise. So to me, it's a win-win, and it's a one-off. It's the only one in the entire world that runs like this. So I feel like a great responsibility for that, right? As far as we've invested in a bunch of frangible technology, to really just continue to try and be on the cutting edge and hold ourselves to the standard, like an FEI standard, even though we're a USCF event, right? Like, we're constantly trying to improve and be on the forefront of all that because one, it's critically important, but two, we want to lead, right? And in our little portion of this, we want to continue to lead on it. And I think, we've been able to do that and maintain it. And, obviously it's unique, but that in its uniqueness, we can be creative. And I think hopefully that will help continue to grow the sport.
Well said, Joanie. I am already regretting that I have set the calendar that I have. So I will make time for this.
John.
I may not be able to this year, but I will make time for this next year because you've sold me on it 100%. Listen, let's take a break. We've got Rick back now. We had a little glitch there technology wise, but he is back. He looks like he's sitting on his porch ready to go for segment 3. So we're going to take a pause and we'll be back with Joanie. Thank you to Equibrew. It is available at brookfieldnutrition.com. That takes you to the Shopify app and you can order it there. I use it on all of my horses. They love it. It is awesome stuff. So let's take a break, check in with some of our other sponsors, and we'll be right back.
For a horse owner on the road, your trailer is essential. No one enjoys being stuck on the road. At Horse Trailer Pros, we repair, renovate, and maintain all makes and models of horse trailers. We work directly with your insurance company or manufacturer for warranty repairs and insurance claims. Our state-of-the-art facility provides quick turnaround and friendly customer service. Considering a living quarter conversion? We do those too. Find comfort on the road with Horse Trailer Pros. Call or text 352-804-2131. HorseTrailerPros.com.
One of my favorite things to do is explore the stores at World Equestrian Center here in Ocala, Florida. When I do, I always make sure to stop in at I Love My Horse Equestrian Boutique. I Love My Horse is a one-stop shop for the latest trends in equine gear, protective equipment, show attire, and casual apparel. They're located in Arena 3 at the World Equestrian Center, right beside the Grand Arena. They've got all kinds of great products in the store. The horse shows are underway at WEC and HITS, and the eventing season is going full throttle. So if you forgot something, or if you just want to pick up something you need to start the season, I Love My Horse is the place to go. Already at the events at Majestic Oaks, Rocking Horse, or Ocala? No problem. I Love My Horse has an awesome mobile tack store just for you eventers. Penny and Terry and their team will take care of all of your equine tack and apparel needs.
The annual I Love My Horse Yellow Ducky sale is coming soon. February 20th and 21st, join us for great sales and refreshments. Choose a yellow duck from the pond to reveal your discount at checkout.
Welcome back to the John and Rick Show, brought to you by Horse Trailer Pros. Joanie, thanks for joining us back in the third segment. We're going to talk some more about this great grant that's out there. Can you tell us what's going on there?
Sure. So after my late husband, Richard Picken, died in 2022, we set up a grant in his memory. He was a show jumping trainer primarily for eventers and was really invested both in high performance riders and going to games and championships, but also in producing young riders and just establishing like a fundamental foundation for them to like learn how to execute clear rounds. It was definitely his passion. So we've done 3 years of the grant now, and we had a really generous donor step up this year and do a $20,000 match.
Wow.
So we're currently we're getting close, but obviously we'd love any support. It's through the USCA Foundation, and yeah, I mean it's just people. It's amazing how many people, like when Richard passed away, I got notes from people that I never even knew he taught. He would have taught him in a clinic in Michigan or Texas or Washington State. Notes from kids, notes from parents. So I didn't quite appreciate how I knew all the usual suspects that he trained on a daily basis, but I didn't quite appreciate how broad his reach was. And so I feel like this grant, I want it to, we've sort of given it out to, people like Olivia Dutton and Meg Pellegrini and Caitlin O'Rourke, people, younger riders people might know, but then, there's a girl from Kentucky last year that had a little thoroughbred horse and she wrote a very compelling application about, why she needed help and what she didn't have access to. And I want people to feel like, if they're in the age group and sort of meet the requirements, that there's, an opportunity for them too. And the committee's been really generous. I mean, they gave out 2 the first year because they couldn't decide. So we just want to have access to the funding to be able to do it for, in perpetuity for, hopefully. And it's been really nice to have these donors step up and match it. So.
Well, why don't you tell us and everybody listening, what are the qualifications to apply?
So it's under 25 and you have to have done a 2-star. I think maybe it's a 2-star short, just to sort of demonstrate that sort of that FEI experience. And yeah, I mean, we require references, we require some videos, a sort of an analysis of not only what your strengths and weaknesses are, but what specifically you would do with the money. And for anyone applying for a grant, don't just say you're going to keep doing what you're doing if you say that you need to improve. So, but that's the whole purpose of it, right? It's to say, someone to go ride with, Laura Kraut for a week or whoever, I mean, get some specialized training or do something different that they couldn't generally do. It's been $5,000 so far, and I think it's been meaningful for those that have won it. So, obviously we look at it all the time and try and continue to improve our process and how we allocate it and how we follow up and that kind of thing. But I do think it's important, and it's sort of, education is so important, and I think that it's a really good way, in a very specific way, with sort of metrics you can monitor, right? I mean, show jumping is one of the things where you're having 2 down for every year, and you go and get some help, and that number decreases, and I think that's it's something that we obviously I always say it feels worse to have a rail down on the last day than it does to be 4 points off the dressage, right? Because
Uh-huh.
you forget about the dressage. If you're second because you could have done 4 points better in the dressage, that's a lot better than being in first and having a rail and ending up second. So it's also up figuring out how to operate under the pressure, which I think, the mental training side Richard was really into as well. And, hopefully some of these kids will go on to jump on, at big events and jump clear rounds, for championships and teams. That's the whole point, to really develop that next generation and give them the access to the resources that they need to do that.
Well, and I love it because with everything that you just said, it is so Richard, right? Like, he was, honestly, not to get too into it, but he was so tough right to the very end, and like just a competitor in every way of his life. So to have him have this legacy of, we're going to help these kids improve and become better at the phase that he was such a master at, I think is a really cool, like Rick said earlier, like, it is a really cool memorial to Richard. So thank you for doing it for all of these kids and for the sport. And it's I guess what I'm saying is, it's cool because it's show jumping because it's Richard, but actually what it's really cool about is it's like helping these kids become not just better show jump riders, which is part of it, but giving them access to people, like really good people that maybe they couldn't have, who are going to hopefully make them better people.
Exactly. No, that's exactly right.
So
you're too old to apply. Sorry, John.
I know. Could you tell that's what I was getting at? Can I still apply? 48.
You can still enter, but you cannot apply.
You can apply. You just get denied. I learned that from Joanie a long time ago. Apply for everything. All they do is say no.
Exactly.
Hey, okay. But that's, to be fair, that's the best advice I give anyone. Keep putting your name out there. The more they see your name, the more they start watching you, and the more they start following along. They is a big group, and from selectors to grant committees to whoever. Keep putting your name out there. That's good life advice, I feel like.
It's great. And I think, Joanie, to John's point, I think you are the first one that really started pushing that. And I remember, it's just a short story, hearing you say that, right? And it was simply priceless. And Elisa, and I said, you should put your application in for 2016. She goes, they're never gonna look at me. I was like,
wasn't that far off.
I said, you should apply. Joanie says you should apply for everything. And then she was an alternate. I was like, see? So your advice is really well taken.
Well, I mean, I think it was Sarah Cosmplick one time. She was hemming and hawing over email about whether she should apply for something. I said, the only thing that everyone goes to the Olympics has in common is they all applied. So if you don't apply, I can't help you.
Right. Good advice.
Good point. Good point.
So Joanie, the thing that we should talk about, and I'm not going to lead you on this too much, is Maryland. We have that big 5-star in October up there. It is such an amazing, beautiful location. And you were a part of it for a long time. And now you've kind of turned the page and you're off to Aiken to do that next thing. But what can you tell us about your experience at Maryland and where you think that all might be heading next?
Yeah, so I wasn't involved the first year of Maryland, but I was involved every year since then. It sort of tied into my life. Speaking of Richard, it was my first year of involvement in the event was the year that he passed away. So it just kind of came along at the right time. And I was saying to someone, like, I agreed to take this job in Aiken over the summer. We didn't announce it till after Maryland just because there was so much going on. We didn't sort of want to get like muddied in that conversation because I was the competition director there. And it was just time for, it was the right step for me in my career as far as moving on. I wasn't a full-time employee of the Sport and Entertainment Corporation of Maryland who ran the event. I was a contractor, and I also did, the Virginia Horse Center events, and was the organizer of the showcase here, and did the helped Carolyn McIntosh with her FEI event. So sort of did a bunch of different things. But Maryland is it's an interesting model. It's a very unique venue. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful, as you say. The venue is the special event zone, which is where the racetrack is, where the arenas are, is very difficult to utilize because it's inside of a turf race course. And so getting in and out is very difficult. And there's not a lot of infrastructure there. It's a natural resources area. So the Department of Natural Resources owns it. So it's not a horse park per se, right? I mean, they do a lot of different stuff there, but it's not like the Kentucky Horse Park or the Virginia Horse Center or the Aiken Horse Park that's wholly and solely designed to run equestrian events. It's just, it's used for all kinds of different things. And when we're not there, like you go out on that cross country course and you'd be hard pressed to say there was ever an event there if you didn't know what a water jump or a ditch looked, a coffin ditch looked like. So the way, and I cannot speak to the setup of all the government entities that were involved because I never really understood it. I do, there's obviously a lot out there right now about the future of it, and I'm very concerned about the future of it. I had said that I would help them, in the transition, when I interviewed for this job and talked to Tara and, in talking with members of the board, like my loyalty to some of these events that I have helped start, or resurrect or just continue on. I feel like some of them are a little bit harder to untangle myself from than others, and that might take some time over this year, and they've been very gracious about appreciating my loyalty to them. And Maryland was one of those events, where it was like, how can I help? I can't run the event, the competition side of the event, because I have another full-time job, but be happy to help. So those conversations we were having throughout the fall, and obviously then things sort of started to fall apart at the end of last year. There was, people, basically everyone that worked at the Sport and Entertainment Corporation, which was ultimately the entity that ran the competition, along with some other events, either left or no longer worked there. And so the future is really uncertain. And I think it probably, still is for a number of reasons. I feel like I said to someone today, I feel like I raised this child and thought it was going to go to Harvard, and now I'm worried that it's going to end up out on the street. So I am trying to do everything I can, from here to fill in the gaps and give people the information that they need if the event is to continue, like what that should look like and how that team should be built. I don't have like a magic 8-ball on it. I don't know what the answers are as far as how it would continue and what that would look like. My concern for 2026 is obviously that it's February, and we were working on the event, pretty intensely by this point. But it's not an impossibility, right? Like there's a lot of enthusiasm. I mean, I'm from Massachusetts, and we have a lot of state pride. Now, people from Maryland, especially horse people, are very invested in their state and in their horse events. Whether it's the Preakness or the Maryland Million, which are obviously both horse racing, or the Maryland 5-Star. I think all the events in Maryland, maybe other, like they have the Maryland colors in the logo, and it's just there's a real sense of that there. And so I think there's a lot of people really passionate and invested in seeing this event continue. I think the organizational structure needs to be reconfigured, and and there's a bunch of stuff they have to figure out, and that's always hard when you feel like you're up against it time-wise, because when you're up against a deadline of when an event is supposed to run, there's only so much time to figure that out. So I think we'll know more here, in the next couple of weeks, I hope. I think because the uncertainty is unsettling for everybody, right? Like whether you're someone that has worked on the event as a contractor and don't know if you're going to have that work coming up, or whether you're a competitor trying to plan your horse's season and you say, well, is that an option? And I think the 3-star is just as big of, is equally as important, if not more, especially leading into a Pan Am year, right? So it's kind of been the 3-star championship, and the one you go to if you want to know if your horse is ready to go do the next thing in that part of the country. So and there's a lot of people whose part of their life has revolved around this event, for the last 5 years. So I don't have, I wish I could give you a super clear answer, but I think in the context of what we're talking about, people working really hard for the event to continue, I just, there's some concerns around how that would happen, but it's not for lack of people understanding how important it is. It's just sometimes these things take longer than is ideal to sort through.
So do you think part of the issue is, and I don't know this, I'm just asking, is part of the issue that they aren't getting the entries at the 5-star that they thought they would get?
I think that's always been part of the conversation over the last few years. I mean, look, the inventory of horses is finite, right? Like I never think, oh, there's 10 horses that are just sitting out this year that we're going to have next year, because for those 10, there's 10 more that aren't available, whether it's because they go to a championship or they make another choice or there's an injury. I mean, there's just the numbers of 5-star horses are down at Kentucky too, right? Like we don't have, I mean, you guys remember there used to be years where there was 90 horses at Kentucky, right?
Yeah.
I mean, 80 horses, and then the same amount at Foxhall and the 4-star, then the 3-star, a week later. We don't have the inventory of horses that we used to. And I think with championships not really being 5-stars, people go and win medals on horses that never do a 5-star. I think that's just changed a little bit, the dynamic of how 5-stars, live in our calendar. I look at the Brits and I think, well, they take their 5-star horses to championships and they win a lot of championships. So, I mean, I would,
Sure.
And organizing a 5-star, I would love to argue that that should be a priority, but it isn't for a lot of countries, not just the US. And so I just think the dynamic's changing a little bit. My recommendation has been to people that have asked me, I'm like, don't build, if you want this event to continue, build it around having 25-star horses. Don't build it around thinking you're going to get 40. Like,
totally. That's what I was going to say, because I just pulled up the entries for Adelaide in 24 and they had 11 horses. Now I know it's a different part of the world and they're very contained in where they are with the number of countries that are willing to come in, but in a way, so are we, right? Like we are very far away from what is really the heart of the sport worldwide in Europe. So I think you're right. Like people will say that to me a lot, where they're like, "Oh, well, they just don't get all the entries there," and I'm thinking, well, did you expect they were going to have 80 horses? Like,
right. I mean, there's just not those many horses.
But I think in a way that's okay. Like you go to plenty of competitions for various sports, but specifically equestrian sports, where you go into it knowing, to your example, at thoroughbred racing, they don't have 80 horses in that main race, right? Obviously, we know that. And because that's what's expected, we're okay with it. And I think we need to expect, if we have 20 top 5-star horses, and it's, to your point, because you did a great job of it, if it is produced correctly and timed correctly, it can be a great show, especially if you have that 3-star class to go along with it.
And the young event horse, right? I mean, the people love going down to watch the young event horse, and it really does tell the story of producing event horses, right? I mean, you can bring a 4-year-old, bring it back the next year, a 5-year-old, and we had, horses that were then there for the 3-star a couple years later. Like, that's pretty cool. And then, in theory, you would then have them next year would be the first group. You probably get 5-star horses that had been to the Young Event Horse Championship there. So, or this year, I guess, 2026. So, you can create a festival, full day of content around all kinds of stuff, right? I mean, I think that there is, so I do think there's opportunity there, but I said if you could target, you have to get horses from Europe, and the date is tough because it's the same date as Leon, which is obviously you only get one chance to take your 7-year-old to Leon in the year that it's 7 or 6. But so I think because of that, there's people like someone like a Tom McEwen had to make that choice this year, right? Like between bringing one to Maryland when he could go to another 5-star in Europe, or taking the one to Leon that ended up winning the 7-year-olds. Like, the 5-star horse didn't miss out on a 5-star run, but the 7-year-old would have definitely missed out on that Leon opportunity, if he hadn't been able, if he'd chosen to come to Maryland. So I think that's another part of the conversation. And, there's been a million conversations, I think, with a million different people about this. And I think it's not just one thing, right? It's not just that the venue is tough because there's no infrastructure. It's not just that the date is a conflict. It's not just that there's not a lot of 5-star horses. These are all parts of the event that, have created some challenges and also created some opportunities, but it needs to be looked at holistically. I don't think you can just look at your one little section of it, whatever that perspective is, and think, okay, well, this is the only thing I have to fix, and then everything else is going to be fine. I think that a lot of them are interrelated, but it's just a big, like any big event, there's a lot to it, and there's a lot that needs to be considered. And so I mean, I hope that there is a way for it to continue, and like I said, I think those conversations are ongoing, but it feels like it's sort of evolving towards a point of a decision at this point, just based on some of the conversations I've been a part of, which haven't been, they've been on the periphery of a lot of this. But there is a lot of enthusiasm for it, and I think that does help. But then obviously like I said, like someone like myself, like my involvement could only be ancillary. Like they have to get a competition director. That can't be me to run this event this year. So like that's something that needs to be happening 2 months ago.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. So the thing that sort of the final thing I want to just talk about, which feels like we're doing this a little backwards, is the reason you have all of these great opinions and insight on all of this stuff, from the showcase to Maryland, to the dates and how that all works, is because you have been in the sport for life. You started, well, as I knew you, working for Philip as a groom, and then we got to work together a lot on various committees and things when you were in the high performance department at USCF, and you were, what was your title there? You were
managing director of eventing.
Right. Okay. So you were the big boss, is what you were, and you were amazing at it. And
oh, thanks.
When I was there, not disparaging anybody who's there now because they do a great job, but I've always missed you there. Fortunately, I get to talk to you and give you a hard time about your terrible football team instead. And your smile went away.
You want to have a running race?
No. God, I am still wrecked from that race I felt like a race from that run with Tick. It killed me. So it's kind of been an evolution to this point, and I guess the final thing I kind of want, I don't even know if it's a question or just sort of wanting you to go on another speech here for us, but high performance in the US feels like for a long time it was sort of in flux and a lot of turmoil. And I feel like, and maybe it's, well, and actually I've been friends with everybody that's been involved with it the whole way along. It feels like it's kind of, the ship has steadied here now, with Leslie, and like everybody's sort of starting to push or maybe row the boat in the same direction. And I'm just sort of curious from your point of view where you think we're at on all of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm excited about the future. I mean, obviously I worked with Leslie a ton. He hired him as the under 25 coach, developing coach there when I was there. And I was super impressed with him from the beginning. He's a horseman, he's a rider, he's sort of sees it from a lot of, he's a coach. He's really, really patient and good, and then tough when he needs to be. I mean, I guess I'll set this up. They're impossible jobs, right? Like any of these jobs in sports administration or coaching are on days they're just impossible. Like everything that leads you to the point to make a decision that you are certain of ends up being the wrong decision, right? Like that happens. And I mean, look, if you're following the Winter Olympics right now, I mean, to your point, Jonathan, being involved in this long, I cannot wait to read the skiing selection procedures to figure out how they kept Lindsay going, right?
Yeah, exactly. All I thought when that happened is I'm like, who did not get to go?
Right. And I'm not saying it was the wrong call. I don't know. But it's obviously bulletproof in the procedures. And so, that's like my administrative nerdy brain. And obviously, unfortunately, it didn't come off, right? But that's a calculated risk, and that's what sport is about. And so I think, over the course of the leadership in the last, 12 or 15 years now, there's obviously been a lot of change. I have a huge amount of respect for everyone that has sat in that seat and worn that hat and served in that role. And I think that everyone, was making decisions in good faith with the information that they had at the time, and how in sport, in these games of inches, like the judgment calls and strategic calls that, you believe everything in the fiber of your being tells you it's the right decision, and it ends up maybe that it wasn't. Or you might think this is never going to work, and it turns out that somehow you get lucky and it does. And I think our sport's really complicated. Obviously we've got an athlete that can't verbally communicate what's going on with it. And then you have, a huge country that you're trying to, administer the sport equitably, and, whether it's selection or, opportunity across such a variety of places and, terrain. And I mean, California, they're running on prepared dirt surface, and in Virginia, they're running on, like lush grass. I mean, it just, it's like living on two different planets in some cases. And it's a really big country and program for someone to keep their arms around. I think Leslie's, experience, the way that he came to this high performance job, not to speak of Leslie directly, but coming up through that development program, I think he saw so much of the country and had so much experience in that and sort of scope and understanding, I think has served him really well. And Leslie's I mean, you guys know him better than I do, but he's a humble guy. He's willing to listen, and but he also has sort of that global experience and understanding from being from Europe originally. I think he's a great fit. And I think that, yeah, I think things have just sort of feels like they've leveled and everyone's just sort of, like able to work within their own program. If they need help, they can ask for it. If they are onto something good, it's not feeling like someone's getting over involved. I think Karen Shooter's a great asset too. I mean, she's someone that I've known for a long time from, mostly being over in Europe, and, she's a wealth of knowledge and she's tough and fair, but she's got a ton of experience. And I think it's just lining up. I think everyone that's contributed to this point has helped sort of set the stage for the program to be successful. And these guys are at the helm. And I'm very hopeful about the future, especially heading towards, a home games, which that's like the dream, right? I mean, that's a really, really big deal. I remember watching Atlanta on TV and thinking it was, how incredible it was. And I think for these guys, it's such a big opportunity. I think our sport's changed a ton. I mean, I went to the Olympics in 2004 and we had 5 on a team. This first one with no steeplechase, 3 scores to count. I mean, what a luxury, right? Now we're talking 3 on a team, 3 to count. You could, I mean, and there's been iterations in between. Our sports evolved, and that was like I said, the first one after steeplechase. I mean, the sport's changed an awful lot as far as how it's been administered in the Olympic program, and I think it's hard to, that's some of those strategic decisions that you're making, especially in a cumbersome governance structure. You can't be that nimble with some of the stuff that you're doing. I think at some points we just got sort of stuck on the back foot because the sport was changing so quickly and we just didn't quite have the mechanisms in place we needed to evolve ahead of it. I think other countries and just other less litigious societies, maybe, I don't know, have a little bit more of that flexibility. Selection's an 18-month process. That's a long time, right? And things, change and evolve, and the pool of horses you think you have to pick from 18 months that you're going to utilize 18 months from now is probably really different. And so you're trying to figure out how to pick the best team, with the information you have at the time, and then evolve towards that. So I have so much respect for anyone that's involved in any of these jobs at any level. I think some days it's really thankless. Some days you can't believe, I mean, speaking for myself, like you're like, wait a second, this is up to me. I'm the adult in the room. Like, isn't there someone around that can like figure this out? Right. And so
terrifying.
Yeah. And so, it's an imperfect science, but it certainly is something that I think experience, perspective, and curiosity really lend itself to. And I think when I see people, and I'm not even thinking about anyone specifically, but when people stop, sort of asking questions and thinking that they have it figured out, and I remind myself of this, I've done this before. I know how to do it. Like, just rinse and repeat. It's like, that's when you get yourself into trouble because the circumstances are always changing in sport. And there's always someone thinking one step ahead of you, on another team from another angle. And I think that just has to be on the forefront of what we're doing and putting ourselves out there, going to Europe, competing against those other countries, seeing how those other programs operate, I think is really, really important. And I think this current group really, hopefully they're on the right track. And I think they've got, I hope they have a lot of support. They should, from the riders to the coaches and the whole program. And yeah, I'm excited to see how the next 2 years unfold. I can't believe it's only 2 years.
I know it's coming fast. It's coming really fast. One thing I just want to make sure before we wrap up here. So all of our listeners have been aware for a while now about donating to the USCA Foundation, because we did a big push with the running that Joanie helped me with on one of those runs and kept me in one piece, which I appreciate. That was the best I ever felt after a run, Joanie. So,
That's great.
So thank you. I think maybe 40 minutes of stretching ahead of time in the hotel gym helped that, but I'm going to give you most of the credit. But we do need to support Richard's grant. And to do that, it's the same deal as last time, guys. You go to uscafoundation.org. I'm looking at it right now. uscafoundation.org. In the top right-hand corner, there's 3 little bars. You touch on that, and it takes you to donate now. You can click on the amount that you want to donate, or you can hit other and make up your own. You can decide if you want it to be recurring or not. And in there, then you pick on the little drop-down menu which grant you want to donate to. You can make sure that it goes to Richard's grant and make your donation there so that we can make sure that that keeps going. So you guys all should know how to do it. And if you're not sure, you can go to my Instagram, because there's a video from a few months ago of how to do it for the Frangible Fund. And it's the same deal. You just don't click on the Frangible Fund for this one. You click on the Richard Picken Memorial Grant for this one.
Thanks.
Right?
Well done. Well done, John.
So make sure you guys do that. And Rick, do you have anything else for Joanie?
No, Joanie, thanks for joining us. You are always a light beacon in our sport and have so much to contribute. We appreciate it. And we will be looking forward to seeing the big event coming up at the 3rd week in February. So
are you guys coming up? Elisa told me she wanted to come.
She, we are separate islands, so I'm not sure what her schedule is. She did say it to me that she emailed you.
Yeah.
And it didn't fit into our schedule for Briggs, but I think it fit into hers. So I will check with her, Joanie, and make sure she follows up with you.
Just make sure she gets her entry in.
Okay, I'll do that.
We'd love to see her up here. So
no, she'd be good. That would be a good one.
Well, if you can't come, watch it on Clip My Horse, and hopefully it will be another really exciting one, and the weather will be on our side.
The weather's going to be great. It's changing. It's getting warmer.
It is changing.
Yeah. It's going to be fine. It's going to be beautiful. Everybody needs to get out there and watch it. And on that note, we appreciate everybody watching and listening to this show. Make sure, Joanie, that you go to YouTube. Yes, Rick?
Yeah, before you finish and do your closeout, that you do so well, John.
I'm good at
just remember, we have I Love My Horse, and we have the gift certificate for $25 that you could win by telling us something. What should we have that be?
How about, I have an idea, unless Joanie has a better one. I would say that.
What was Joanie's first Olympics that she was involved in?
Okay.
I said that though.
Yeah, you
did. Okay. No, we want people to know they have to listen.
Oh, 2004 Athens. I was Will Fawdry's groom for the reserve horse.
Okay. Yep. There you go.
Perfect.
So we awarded last episode's winner in segment 1, and we will award this episode's winner in our next show in segment 1. So the question, just to be clear on everybody again, is which Olympics was Joanie's first Olympics? And we could add a little bonus in there that might get you like double credit, or who did she groom for and which horse? I think I know.
I know the answers to all that.
The one and only.
A little horse named Brad?
That's right.
That's right. Okay, so that's the question. And so on that note, what we need everybody to do is go to YouTube and give us a like. You're supposed to smash the like. That's what they always say on all the YouTube shows. Make sure you subscribe to us there. Give us a like, comment on it. And you have to comment on that question in the YouTube show to be able to get into the drawing for the I Love My Horse gift card. Also, you need to go to your favorite podcast players and you need to give us a rating. Preferably a 5-star rating would be super, but we'll take what we can get.
Smash the 5 stars.
Smash the 5 stars. Yeah, give us 5 stars for discussion on the 5-star. And on that note, thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you, Joanie, again for coming on the show, and we will catch you guys on the next one.
Thanks for having me.
See you later.
We have an awesome show for you guys today.
The greatest eventer of all time.
Good news for the sport.